What's up guys, today we're going to be going over my first full Arc 3.0 build, and of course it's going to be on Warlock, and this build is absolutely insane for pretty much about everything. How it works is just constant ability recharge for every single ability that you have, and it is really good. And now that we have all of the Arc fragments once the King's Fall raid was completed, along with some of the artifact mods, it really all came together. So jumping straight into the build, we're going to be taking advantage of two of the new exotics. The first one being the new fusion, the Delicate Tomb, which I've already made a video kind of going over it. So quickly, what it does is, in general, it has a chance to create Ionic Traces. Then if you kill a powerful foe or a boss or anything like that, it's guaranteed to create one Ionic Trace. Then the secondary perk of the weapon, after you pick up a trace, it will overcharge the next shot, which will then jolt targets on hit. This weapon also has a catalyst, which will make it so when you pick up a Ionic Trace, it'll partially reload the magazine from reserves. So with this build, you'll practically never have to reload the weapon, which will be really good once we get that. So overall, how this fusion works on Warlock, you're going to have Ionic Traces all over the place. Just simply pick one up and it'll overcharge your next shot, which will then jolt on hit. And jolt in a way is Arc Web from the old Warlock subclass, and it is extremely strong. It is more or less just like Chain Reaction or Reservoir Burst all built into the weapon, with honestly a much bigger range. So yeah, this fusion is extremely good for ad clear, and it does pretty good damage. And the second exotic we're going to be taking advantage of is the new Warlock exotic helmet, the Fallen Sunstar, which will make it so traces move faster and give you additional energy when you pick them up, and nearby allies will also gain ability energy when you pick them up. So first, looking at how this works without the helmet on, the traces move fast, but they're not like super fast. And as you saw, I created two and got roughly 25% of my grenade. Now with the helmet on, they move noticeably faster, and the same two traces give me now 50% of my grenades, so it seems to be exactly double the ability energy. And the secondary part of the exotic, where nearby allies also get energy, it seems to be on a cooldown. In this clip, I was picking up multiple Ionic Traces every single time I get a kill, and as you see, it only jumps up for him every few seconds. And it's not by that much, which makes sense, because if it was the same amount of energy and as often as it was for me, that would be obviously extremely broken and make this like the best exotic of all time. Pretty much instant ability regen for your entire team. And another thing to note about this exotic, just like most things that give you ability energy back, it's gonna be tied to your base stat. So if you raise your recovery, you will get your rift back faster. If you raise your discipline, you'll get more chunk of your grenade every single time you pick up the traces. So the whole point of this build is you want to make as many traces as possible. One, to proc the overcharged shot of the Delicate Tomb, and two, because you'll be getting a lot of energy back from the Fallen Sunstar exotic. So the goal is create as many as possible. So starting off with the aspect, where defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates a Ionic Trace. Then picking up those traces make you amplified. This is going to be a key to this entire build. Now if we look at the first fragment of choice, your arc grenades will jolt targets, and you can pair this with whatever grenade of choice. Mine is Pulse. Storm Grenade is also extremely strong. And now, because of the way the aspect works, it should create two traces. One, because it's an arc ability kill, and two, our grenade will also jolt, which means it should create a secondary one. And with this build, since we'll be amplified all the time, if we use Spark of Beacons, while you're amplified, your arc special weapon final blows create a blinding explosion, which once again should proc a Ionic Trace to spawn in because of the aspect once again. So now if we use our grenade, for example, we should get two traces, as we showed off in earlier gameplay. And as you see, we definitely did. And then for our secondary aspect, I'm running the Lightning Surge, which makes it so while sliding, activating your charge melee ability to blink forward, calling down lightning strikes that jolt targets when you rematerialize. And once again, because this melee jolts and is an arc ability kill, it should create two just like the grenade, and it does. And as you may have seen in these two clips, we actually created three, and that is because of this fragment right here, where defeating a jolted target creates a Ionic Trace. So now, between all the things we have going on so far, whenever we use our grenade and our melee, we should actually create three, which should give roughly 75% of all of our abilities back. And if we keep going from there, using an artifact mod right here, Trace Evidence, defeating combatants affected by arc debuff spawns an Ionic Trace. And if you look in the tooltip of the subclass, not only is blinding considered a arc debuff, jolt is too. So now our grenade, our melee, and our special weapon should all be able to proc this mod also. So now we should be able to create up to 4 per grenade and melee. And now with the final fragment we're going to be using in this build, arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an on trace, along with just the built-in part of the delicate tomb, where there's a chance also the tomb itself should be able to create 5 or 6 potentially per shot. So yeah, there is a lot of traces being made in this build. Every ability should create 3, which will give you 75% of all of your abilities back. Then the tomb itself can create like 4, 5, maybe even 6. So yeah, the tomb itself will definitely give you all of your abilities back as long as you're killing multiple things with a shot, which is gonna be obviously extremely easy. So yeah, your abilities are just, yeah, they're just always back. Like, we've had a lot of really good recharge based builds in the past, but I don't think we've ever had one on this level where it's all of your abilities coming back this fast and all of your abilities are this strong. The accurate potential of this subclass is just on a whole different level, and that isn't even talking about the tomb, which will always have the overcharged shot, which just clears everything nearby wherever you hit. Yeah, this build is really crazy. And that is just the subclass itself. We haven't even thrown in any mods yet, so just using mostly the typical stuff. So starting off with Ash's stat sets to get a chunk of super energy on grenade kills, harmonic siphon to create orbs of power on our arc weapon final blows. Then we have melee well maker to create the arc wells on our aspect melee. Then we have momentum transfer. You can really use whatever of this style of mod you want, because we're going to be using all of our abilities. Doesn't really matter which one you use. Then I have Phantom Might to get the damage buff to our arc weapons. Then the next mod I have on will be right here, Bountiful Wells, to get 2 wells instead of 1 when we get the grenade kills and melee kills. Then Innervation, once again, you can use whatever style of this mod you want. Then on my bond I have the Elemental Ordnance along with the artifact mod that we showed off earlier. And finally, the last slot is kind of like a freebie, use whatever you want. I prefer heavy-handed for the secondary part to get infinite ammo with my fusion, and that is why I'm also using an SMG or sidearm in my kinetic slot to help get ammo back if I ever run out. And finally, for my power weapon, I'm using the Storm Chaser because it's arc, and it is still pretty good. If you have a different thing you want to use, go ahead and use that, but the Storm Chaser still feels pretty good. And yeah, that is more or less it for the build. The entire concept is creating as many traces as possible. Basically, every single time you use an ability, you'll get 75% of all of your abilities back. Then if you shoot a tomb shot into a group, you will more or less get all of your ability energy back for all 3 veins. So yeah, it's a extremely fast ability spam. All the abilities are extremely strong. The tomb itself is one of the best accurate weapons in the game. And yeah, you always have Phantom Might, creating wells all over the place for your entire team. And on top of all of that, every single time you pick up the trace, you'll give a chunk of ability energy to your entire team. So yeah, really cool build, and overall I'm definitely enjoying Arc 3.0 the most out of almost any of the rework subclasses. It is super fun, so definitely check this build out. I'm going to go ahead and link the dim loadout down in the comments, and the rest of the video will just be some strike gameplay with this build. Like usual, thanks for watching, catch you guys next time.